As you no doubt heard, my XO has appendicitis. Your name was at the top of the list.
Well, that's good to know, sir.
It was a short list.
There's trouble in Russia. So they called us. And we're going over there and bringing the most lethal killing machine ever devised.
The last time we hit this state of emergency was 32 and a half years ago during the Cuban Missile Crisis. So this is what it's all about, gentlemen. It's what we trained for.
Submerge the ship.
Diving officer, submerge the ship, make a depth 150 feet.
On the 1MC. Dive.
This summer,
We have a properly formatted emergency action message from National Command Authority.
what we've always known
Bravo, Echo, Charlie, Alpha.
becomes what we've always feared.
Gentlemen, this is the captain. Russian rebels have threatened to launch against our country and are fueling right now. This is not a drill.
Now,
Sir, we have a possibly submerged submarine.
You find out who that is.
Receiving emergency action message. Recommend alert 1.
the battle for survival begins.
That's a message fragment.
Sir, we don't know what this message means. Our target package could have changed.
I've made a decision.
There's no place for fear.
He's lost his nerve.
I'd rather go out myself and get this one wrong.
There's no room for mistakes.
If we launch and we're wrong, what's left of Russia is going to launch at us.
I'm captain of this boat. I don't have to think this over.
There's no time for doubt.
Missile system's ready to launch in 6 minutes.
You repeat this order or I'll find somebody who will.
Hell no, you won't, sir.
And nothing can stop the tide.
Come on, show our torpedoes in the water.
Right forward.
1,000 yards of closing dive. Make your depth 1,200 feet.
We cannot launch our missiles unless both you and I agree.
They're fueling our missiles.
It's right on top of us.
Please commando. Under arrest. Under charge of mutiny. Launch your aim.
Block Captain Ramsey's in his stateroom.
Fire one. Now. Give me the missile key, Mr. Hunter. Sir, we are going down. I'm the commander of this ship.
Crimson Tide.
God help you if you're wrong.
If I'm wrong, then we're at war. God help us all.
And welcome back to the Movie Hero Network. This is episode number 37 of the Wheel of Movies. I am your host, Austin Pez Howell, and as always, here with me, my co-host, Richie Goodacre. How's it going?
Yeah, pretty good. Yeah, I think it's just having doing some wild weather here, but it hasn't hit yet. So yeah, looking forward to it. I'm glad I'm still here to talk about Crimson Tide. Yeah, good movie. First time I saw it, so yeah, get into it. My new shirt. It's my pitch meeting shirt. I got
nice.
So yeah, no, it should be fun.
Yeah, definitely. And as Richie mentioned, we're talking about Crimson Tide here in honor of the late, great Gene Hackman, who passed away last week. We had to do our tribute episode, but we got a special guest for this evening, a guy who's a big fan of this film. And so we reached out to him, and we finally got him for an episode. We've tried to reach out for a while, Steven, but Steven Shepard, how's it going, man?
Yeah, it's going well. Yeah, this is a great movie. Sad reason for doing it, but and we still don't know, what caused his death.
Yeah.
But,
It's a bizarre mystery surrounding both the death of his wife and of him and his wife and his dog.
And his dog, yeah. But we are here to sort of celebrate the great actor that Gene Hackman was, and he definitely brings it in this one. So.
Yeah, no, and I wanted to talk about this movie in particular because I think it's one that doesn't get talked about probably as much as it should for how great it is, and it's a great kind of later Gene Hackman role, in the 90s, where I think he was really cooking in the 90s. He had a great 95, even just alone. He had The Quick and the Dead, which he's a lot of fun in, Crimson Tide, and Get Shorty. So he had a good, strong 95. I mean, we're going to talk about it when we get to our 1995 Ladder series, which is our next yearly series. So we'll have 3 Gene Hackmans all up in there. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're talking about Crimson Tide. Yeah, it's one that I've been a fan of. Steven's a fan of. Yeah, Richie, this is your first time watch, so I was happy to at least give you a reason to check it out for the first time. It's one I've kind of always pushed as kind of an underrated, cool little thriller. But yeah, we'll get into it in just a second. So just to rattle off just a few quick things about Crimson Tide. May 12th, 1995. You've got a little Crimson Tide. Would you guys like to know? I've been doing this a couple times lately. What else was in the box office at your multiplex around this time for your options if you headed to the theater? Would you like to know?
I remember I wanted to see Die Hard with a Vengeance, but I wasn't able to for whatever reason, so I saw this movie instead.
Okay.
So I know Die Hard with a Vengeance. I don't know if it probably didn't come out the same weekend, but it was out at the same time.
It was around the same time. It came out a week after this, but yeah, I have kind of the top 10 sort of May of 95. So we'll kind of do that as kind of our rough thing of what was going on. Yeah, number one was Crimson Tide. It was a big hit. It made some money. Number two, Die Hard with a Vengeance. We got While You Were Sleeping.
Julia Roberts, right?
Yeah, that's Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock and Bill Pullman.
Sandra Bullock. I always get confused sometimes.
Yeah.
They're sort of. Did they ever do a movie together? I don't know if they have, because they're kind of synonymous with each other.
I don't know. Like, you mean like Julia Roberts and Sandra Bullock together?
Yeah.
Not that I can recall.
I feel like they're kind of synonymous together in the 90s, and they should have teamed up anyway. But yeah.
So, after they got French Kiss, the Meg Ryan, Kevin Kline movie.
Yeah.
Which made some money.
I can see the poster. I haven't seen it, though.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. Casper, which was a pretty big hit. In that time. Did pretty well. You got Friday, Ice Cube and Chris Tucker. Forget Paris, which I don't know what that is, but Forget Paris.
Forget Paris is with Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal. Okay, so yeah, I haven't seen that one. Still tooling around in theaters, although it was just It came out 2 weeks later, so it would start to creep up. But Braveheart, this was a big summer for Braveheart. Ended up being a big movie, obviously at the Oscars as well. My Family, which is a New Line movie I'm not terribly aware of.
I remember Roger Ebert loved that movie. I think it was in his top 10 of the year.
My Family. I'm looking that up.
My Family, Me Familiar, because I guess it's, I don't know if it's Spanish or not.
Spanish movie.
Yeah, it's a Spanish movie with Jimmy Smits and Isai Morales from the most recent Mission Impossible movie. Then Edward James Olmos. So good cast though. Yeah. All right. Jennifer Lopez in there too. We got a Goofy movie, which had come out the month before, and another one tooling around for the month before, Bad Boys. So Bad Boys was around that time. So yeah, I mean, interesting choice of movies at the box office. So there you go. But yeah, so that was kind of your box office. This movie had a budget of $53 million and made 157. So it was profitable, made some money. Yeah, just a few little bits. Not too much about the behind the scenes. Quentin Tarantino has an uncredited punch up of this script. He came in, they brought him in for some of the pop culture references and, just to punch up a little bit of the dialogue here and there. And he was doing that kind of a lot around this time. Bringing in
the line when they're arguing about Silver Surfer or whatever it was.
Yeah, the Silver Surfer stuff, the Star Trek stuff. When he's talking about, I'm Captain Kirk and you're Scotty, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, he punches up a lot of that stuff. So they brought him in to kind of punch it up a little bit. So this movie was made without U.S. Navy assistance. They initially were going to, give their kind of assistance with the, people that they designate to help kind of, continuity and things, but the Navy objected to the mutiny stuff in the movie. They didn't like that. So they rejected it. It's the story, but they were initially told the story in an original rough draft was going to be about like a rogue missile launch system, kind of gone wrong. Kind of, they said, a submarine movie meets 2001, and that's obviously not what it was. And when they found out it was about more of a mutiny, they pulled out of it and said, we're not going to assist. So they don't like mutiny on boats, especially nuclear submarines. They don't like that idea. So there you go. But the French Navy assisted though with some of the stuff, and that's why the aircraft carrier you see throughout the movie that the CNN guy is on is an actual French aircraft carrier. That's the real one. So they got some shots on there, a little bit of that. The submarine you see in the shot where Gene Hackman does the rain speech, when they're about to board, the one they get onto is a scrapped submarine called the USS Barber that was scrapped in a Navy yard. So they kind of run onto that one and get in there. Now, the actual shots of the USS Alabama, out at sea and diving and things like that. It was kind of guerrilla style and not illegal, but so there's a story behind it where it's not illegal to film, obviously from public, out at sea to film like a submarine or anything like that, or a naval vessel. But you don't know. They don't disclose the times at which they're going to go out to sea, and when they're going to dive and things like that. So they had an informant inside Pearl Harbor and got an idea of when the actual USS Alabama was leaving the dock, and they informed the filmmakers, and they were able to get a helicopter and a boat to kind of follow the submarine and just get a bunch of shots of the sub going out to sea and then actually diving. So they kind of shot it almost guerrilla style, and then ended up using it, the actual footage of a submarine going down and tooling around, because that's not illegal. But people weren't terribly happy about it, but it's not exactly, it's not illegal. But it is what it is. But it is real footage, so that's kind of cool. The last 60 minutes of the movie is essentially in real time if you watch it. They announced that the Russians will have missile capability in 60 minutes, and it's just about 60 minutes when we get to the actual end of the movie. So that's a fun little thing where they do it almost in real time.
I'm sorry. Sorry to bring this reference up, considering who's on the panel, but 24 is not like things go by very quickly. But I understand for TV, but sometimes things going back and going in real time makes it more tension filled. I like that.
No. So if you actually time it, it's pretty close to about 60 minutes. So it's pretty cool. This is the first of 5 Denzel Tony Scott collaborations, as he would become one of his guys. So this is the first one. Then followed up mostly in the 2000s with Man on Fire, Deja Vu, The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, and Unstoppable, Tony Scott's final film. So obviously he became a frequent collaborator with Tony Scott. A few other people in here, Gene Hackman would go on to do this one and Enemy of the State. So he did 2 movies with Tony. James Gandolfini, 2 years before, was in True Romance, that Tony Scott directed, and this one. So a couple times there. But he has a couple of his regulars.
Matt Craven.
Matt Craven, as Steven mentioned before the show, who was also in Deja Vu. He's got a couple of regular guys he works with and character actors and whatnot. But obviously Denzel would be the big one that he would work with frequently. And then the final thing I have is it was nominated for 3 Oscars, so mostly technical stuff, editing, sound mixing, and sound editing. Which
Damn it, that sucks.
Yeah, no score. We'll talk about it. But this Hans Zimmer score is a banger. This Hans Zimmer score slaps, man. It is great. I listen to it all the time. One of the more underrated kind of Hans Zimmer scores. But it lost all those awards to, I didn't look up exactly, but a mix of Apollo 13 and Braveheart were the big winners, that year. So it makes sense. Those are the kind of the big
I can kind of understand Apollo 13, though.
Yeah, Apollo 13 was good. Braveheart won a lot of stuff. At that Oscar, so it was kind of the big winner that year. So just was what it was, but it was nominated for a few things. So, let's get into it. We'll talk a little bit about both. We'll go to you first, Steven. Maybe your history with this movie, why it's kind of one of your favorites, and maybe a little bit of your history with Gene Hackman as well. And are you a fan? Maybe some of your other favorite Gene Hackman movies, man. But hit us. What you got?
It's. Crimson Tide was the first movie I ever saw at a local Regal at the time that it opened. It has since closed and was demolished and is something else now. But a Regal Cinemas that's nearby me that I even worked at for for about a year.
Mm.
And it was the first movie I ever saw in that theater. And yeah, I just love the movie. I think it's it's a movie that proves you don't need big special effects and big action scenes to be really super intense and exciting. Just great writing, great acting, great directing.
Yeah.
And
And how about Gene Hackman in general?
yeah. Oh, in general, I mean, yeah, I mean, Gene Hackman's, you know, always been a favorite of mine. He's just a great actor, and I actually ranked all the movies that I've seen from him uh, ap- shortly after his death was announced on Letterboxd, and Crimson Tide actually ranks at number 2 for me.
What's number one?
Why do you like Welcome to Mooseport?
Number one, I mean, I think number one is pretty. A lot of people probably haven't, or maybe not, either number one or definitely top 5, and that's Unforgiven.
Yeah, no, he won an Oscar for Unforgiven, so that makes sense. He's very, very good. Yeah, Richie, we alluded that this is your first time seeing Crimson Tide, so you don't have a history with this movie. But kind of your initial thoughts, and then a few thoughts on Gene Hackman just in general.
Yeah, I thought this movie is really good. Obviously, with I like it as it's a movie that while there's tension, it does rely on the central performances and the sort of they bring the tension with their performance and the chemistry there. And I thought Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington were really great, and just the buzz back and forth are great. I thought this movie was really good. I don't think we get enough submarine movies. I think movies like U-571 is underrated as well. That was it. Catherine Bigelow movie. Was it K-19?
K-19, The Widowmaker with Harrison Ford. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also underrated, I think.
I don't mind that movie either. So, get more submarine movies. Submarine movies are cool.
I've never seen Das Boot though.
Yeah, I haven't either because it's a long movie.
Das Boot is good. It's just very long. It's like 3 hours. Like I have the director's cut on Vudu. It's like 3 hours long. It's kind of a slower movie, but it's still cool because I think it's like 68 or something. So it's a very early submarine movie. There's one underrated one as well that came out not too long ago called like Black Gold, I think, with Jude Law.
Jude Law, yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool one where they're in a submarine looking for underwater gold. It's actually pretty cool. If you haven't seen that, it's kind of an underrated one.
Yeah. So but Gene Hackman in general, I've always been a fan. I think the first time I saw him, maybe when he mentioned earlier, like Quicker Than Dead. I think that was when I first paid attention to him. And then I think. And I went back and watched his stuff. Probably my favorite movie of his is actually probably The Conversation. That movie rules. Starring also Jim Cazale, who made 5 movies and they're all Oscar nominated.
John Cazale.
John Cazale. Yeah, not Jim.
If you don't know that, he's Fredo in the Godfather movies.
He died young and he made 5 movies and they're all nominated for Best Picture.
It's a hell of a run for what he had. And Crimson Tide, I didn't get a chance to see this in the theaters. Obviously, I think I was like 9 at the time, but my dad might have. But I think we rented it from Blockbuster not long after that on VHS, and I think I was able to watch it then, at home. So I know I saw it kind of early. I know I rented it again at some point when I was doing my early 2000s Blockbuster years, and I did buy the Blu-ray when it came out. And this is a very early Blu-ray. I was going to show it, Steven. This is one of those 2008 pretty early ones because they all have that look with the border, on them, with some of those kind of first year Blu-rays kind of have that distinct look to them. But I know I watched it again then, but it's been a little while since my latest watch, and but it really shouldn't be. This movie's great. But as far as Gene Hackman goes, I mean, he's always just been one of those guys that just commands your attention every time he's on screen. I think the one I saw the most of, oddly enough, just because it was on cable a lot, was Enemy of the State. I think because it was on FX all the damn time, Enemy of the State was just on constantly, so he was just always kind of popping up in that one. I've been really into The French Connection ever since I saw it in the theater, which I got to at a Cinemark. So that's really cool. And Roy Scheider is one of my guys, and he's in The French Connection as well. But yeah, I mean, he's always great. I watched Mississippi Burning for the first time last year. He's excellent in that. But yeah, Quick and the Dead was a fairly recent watch from about a year or two ago. But yeah, always really, really good. And he's one of those guys that you just, he's on screen and you pay attention, and it's really great, as we'll talk about in this movie. So, but yeah, let's actually get into it. So, yeah, I mean, you got kind of the basic premise here. There's a guy in Russia that's stirring up some trouble. This like rebel guy. I forget the name of the dude. I got the Wikipedia.
Somebody.
Yeah, it's Vladimir. It's definitely a Russian name. It's Vladimir Radchenko. Yeah. And of course he's a Vladimir, because why wouldn't he be a Vladimir? Vlad, as a bad guy, but he's kind of this rebel guy trying to do like a military coup and take over different stuff with these rebels. The state is trying to fight back against him, but the threat is that he's been taking over these different buildings and whatnot, and he might be getting a hold of some nuclear codes, which is not good. Some silos. It's not about the actual missile commands. It's the he needs the codes to actually launch them, because you could break into a silo, but if you don't have the codes to launch anything, it's no good. It's not going to be good.
I did appreciate how I did find funny how honest he was to perform. The reporter, he's like, "Oh, would you? You're gonna? Yeah, I'm gonna kill those people. Are you gonna use nuclear weapons? Yes, I'm gonna use nuclear weapons." I'm like, I don't know if like a politician would be that straightforward. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna use nukes and kill everybody.
Kill everybody, and just start a war. Yeah. Well,
at least he's not like
he's not doing a politician thing of like hiding, his intentions. He's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna launch these nukes and start a nuclear war. Okay, cool. At least we know he's serious. But yeah, he's starting up some trouble, and yeah, we've got to go interfere and possibly get ready to launch nukes of our own. If he does that, or if he gets a hold essentially of the missiles and gets the launch codes, we might have to launch a preemptive strike. So we follow the crew of this USS Alabama. We've got our captain, played by Gene Hackman, Captain Ramsey, and he's got a new first officer. His other first officer is out with appendicitis is what they said, something like that. Yeah. So we've recruited Denzel Washington, playing Lieutenant Hunter, and they had this kind of first meeting where he's laying out his how he does things. He's got this little dog, the little Jack Russell Terrier.
He says Jack Russell Terriers are the most intelligent dog. I'm here to say they're not. I love dogs. Jack Russell Terriers are annoying. I don't like Jack Russell Terriers.
I'm going to fast check that right now. Most intelligent dogs. Listen, Border Collie. It's what I thought. Border Collies are actually the most intelligent dogs, and that's what I thought.
Annoying and fucking stupid. I love dogs. I don't like Jack Russell.
But no, Border Collie makes sense because they're like the sheepdogs, and they're really good at following commands and like rounding up, and doing their job, and they're very, very smart. Yes,
I would have thought that and like Alsatians, German Shepherds, because they're cop dogs. You know what I mean? No, I don't think of intelligence when I think of Jack Russell, the small little Jack Russell.
But yeah, Stephen, how about this kind of first meeting of the minds with Denzel and Gene? I mean, the whole movie kind of rides on, Denzel and Gene's star power and them kind of, verbally sparring with each other. I mean, it's the crux of the movie, but I think he's up to the task. What do you think as far as Denzel?
Yeah, the chemistry between Hackman and Washington is obviously the crux of the movie, and then when shit hits the fan and he refuses to go along with Hackman's order because he thinks that their orders could have changed, and he wants to make sure so that they don't go nuking someone and then oops. starting World War III by accident.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things that they've always said if somebody launches nukes and then we either launch in retaliation or vice versa, whatever it is, it's not going to be just one missile, I mean, it's going to be multiple things where it's just going to escalate. And, if they ever actually get fired off, it's going to be, we're going to be in a post-nuclear war. I mean, our world essentially, where it's going to be fallout and a nuclear holocaust, as Denzel puts it. And, it could look like, if you saw ISS, it could look like that. Not a very good movie, but, I like the background, just like all these crazy, missile strikes all over the place and all this fire and, brimstone. It's really something. But yeah, Richie, I mean, this is your first time watch. So, I mean, I think Denzel's, able to go toe to toe with Gene Hackman in this movie, and they have good chemistry. What do you think?
They have good chemistry as like, as a guy also is like, slightly builds up confidence to confront him, because at first he's just like sort of, subtly kind of disagreeing, but like, eventually has no choice but to kind of fight back. But yeah, so yeah, but I they're both very charismatic actors, and I think they bounce off each other really well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we meet a few of our character actor side people, as Steven and I were also discussing before we went on air. Yeah, it's a very character actor heavy movie, which I certainly appreciate. Yeah, he talked about Matt Craven, who he said was on Justified. Is that right? Just a couple episodes there.
Oh, he was in a few episodes, yeah.
Yeah. Any 24 alumni in here? I'll go to you, Steven. It's your favorite show. Anyway, we got any 24 alumni in this movie at all? Anybody?
I'd have to look.
Okay. I obviously I don't think Gandolfini was on there, or Viggo Mortensen. You probably would remember that one if they were in there.
Ricky Schroeder was actually on 24.
Was he? Okay, Ricky Schroeder. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. I figured there had to be one of these character actors had to pop up on 24 for at least an episode, right? Somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get Ricky.
I feel like at this stage, more character actors pop up in 24 than Lauren or whatever.
But yeah, no. So yeah, you get Ricky Schroeder in there. Like I said, Viggo, Gandolfini, George Zunza, I think is his name. Yeah, he's been in a whole bunch of movies. Yeah, the chief guy. Steve Zahn, yeah, he's one of the guys who ends up drowning in the drowning scene. He's kind of in there. You get the first movie of Ryan Phillippe shows up as a little crewman for a quick scene. Yeah, he's not in it very long. He doesn't have a lot to do, but he's one of kind of the background crewmen. It's Ryan Phillippe. It's actually his first movie, is what I looked up. So kind of an interesting little thing there. And then near the end of the movie, who I forgot was in it, Jason Robards as the main like court martial guy at the end of the movie. Yeah, so I mean, again, solid character actor cast. A lot of people you kind of recognize, at least facially. So that's always fun. Yeah, you get a little bit of Viggo early on with like this birthday party. So they have a rapport going in, onto the boat, at least with him and Denzel, which will come into play later, obviously.
Yeah, actually, Viggo's really great in this movie too, because his loyalties are really torn between his captain and his friend. So I thought that really works in the movie really well too.
Oh yeah, we'll get to the scene where with him that's very like where shit gets real fast with some weaponry. But we get one of my early favorite scenes, and it's one that I posted when Gene Hackman passed away, is the speech he does in the rain, which is really really cool. Just visually, with this rain, and he's kind of giving this introductory speech about I demand your very best, and if you don't give me your very best, that feeling you have in the seat of your pants will be my boot in your ass. It's really great. And he goes this back and forth with his chief of just like the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, and this a great state, outstanding. So this back and forth is really great. You get a little bit of the right near the end of it, the introduction of the score that kind of comes in, just like real slow, at the end of the speech. Again, this Hans Zimmer score, man, is so damn good. I've listened to this a lot, especially this main. Oh, really? No, I wouldn't be surprised. It's one that I listen to a lot, and I think is overlooked, kind of in its greater.
The only one that I like sometimes go back and forth is I do also really love his score for Gladiator, but I which is from the other Scott.
Oh yeah, no, Ridley for sure. Yeah, he worked with both of them quite a few times. But yeah, I mean, this score's a banger. This score's so good. I listened to this main theme a lot, and I had it on kind of throughout the week. As we were getting ready for this. But yeah, Richie, yeah, I know we like Hans Zimmer, man. This score's pretty good.
I like Hans Zimmer. I also like good at even if I. Yeah, even if the crux of the speech you're not on board with, I like good impassioned movie speeches as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool. The way it was sort of shot too was very like Road to Perdition vibes with the rain and the and it was cool. I could it was definitely like a very kind of like very patriotic like hoorah kind of speech. But yeah, I think it did its job, and I think it was really really well done. And yeah, the score is the score is really great.
Yeah, the score is excellent. No, good stuff there. So, we get on the boat. We kind of get a little more, back and forth with him, with Denzel and kind of the officers. We get this little kind of dinner where they're talking about their views on war and strategy and whatnot. And there's a little back and forth on whether or not Denzel would have launched the bombs at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Mm-hmm. And he gives kind of a very political answer of just like we sort of had to. Do what we had to do, kind of, but he's not like pro-bomb, but he's not necessarily anti-bomb, he's pro-America, he's like, we kind of did what we had to do, but, he kind of gives a very political answer, and, Gene Hackman's just kind of, everybody else is just kind of like, yeah, we do what we had to do to win the war, and it's going to come into play later, because he's like, yeah, we had our orders, dropped the bomb, we dropped the bomb, that's exactly what we did what we were told, and that would obviously come into play, a little later with his, eagerness to be the guy to kind of launch the missiles and whatnot when we get there. But we get some kind of escalating tension, a few messages and whatnot that this dude has actually broken into some building that has the actual launch codes, and that it's becoming a real dire situation. And they're getting these. They establish this radio that kind of lights up with these emergency action messages. It kind of lights up when they're starting to get these. They almost look like faxes. It's like, oh, the fax is coming in now.
Yeah. And then they get a fax basically saying to like launch missiles, but then they get another one that gets cut off. And that he believes is a retraction, but because it's incomplete, it's like, well, we don't know that for sure. I'm going to launch a missile.
Yeah, well, because it says launch missiles, and it even has a target, like it has an actual target on the thing of like some facility, with the actual, I'm assuming it's some kind of, nuclear silo or some kind of, military, base and whatnot. But yeah, it's kind of this conflict of, they get this first half of this, maybe a 2-part message, or at least we just don't know what the follow-up is because they want to get this extra confirmation. It's all about just being sure before we launch a nuclear holocaust. On the world. But yeah, this is kind of where we get our main conflict. But Steven, I mean, this is where it really kind of escalates about, this back and forth with Denzel and Hackman. He wants to get the extra confirmation. Let's go to the surface. Let's try to, maybe finish the message. And Hackman's like, no, we got our orders. Like, I'm the captain. Like, shut the fuck up. He even says it at one point, like, not to argue in front of him. But yeah, I mean, Steven, this is where it kind of escalates, man. What do you think about this?
Their shouting match when he's telling him to arrest the XO on a charge of mutiny, and but then you've got then the George Zenza who refuses because the XO is right, we can't launch unless he confirms. Requires both of them, not just one of them. And it's a really intense moment. It's I've seen the movie a few over the years a few times, but I've probably seen like that whole sequence on YouTube. I've probably seen that like a number of times. It's the best scene of the movie.
Yeah, and Richie kind of plays like almost an Uno reverse card where he's like, no, I'm going to place, not essentially you under arrest, but like I'm going to relieve you of your command, because you're trying to launch these missiles without, this confirmation and without the, the first officers confirmation and whatnot. But yeah, he kind of reverses it on him. But yeah, Richie, what do you think about this this whole sequence? Because yeah, it's kind of the main set piece of the movie is this back and forth, and it really shows these guys and their acting chops kind of back and forth at each other.
Yeah, I like how it builds up too, because again, he's still like sort of nervous to kind of arc back at him, and then he's so he's sort of looking back, but he's like, okay, but then he really, I think he just gets to a boiling point where it's like, nah, I'm gonna, and then it gets to a point where it's just like, and then it becomes like almost becomes like a, like a Captain Phillips moment, but a babyface Captain Phillips moment, like where it's like, no, I'm the captain of the ship now. Go on, like you're taking orders from me, and then it's just, but yeah, it's a great shouty match, and just the escalation of it was great, and I thought it was really really well done.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really shows off these two guys' acting chops, and yeah, I'd love to be a fly on the wall just for that scene while they're shooting it. I mean, just the intensity of even Viggo Mortensen has talked about that. I saw an interview with him on Rich Eisen's show where they asked him about Gene Hackman and doing this movie and whatnot. And he was just like, man, just watching these dudes, these titans, just go back and forth, and how it just escalates and the back and forth, and to see Gene Hackman kind of get defeated in the moment because of the regulations, and they escort him to his stateroom, and they're not really putting him in like a break per se, but just lock him in his stateroom, and Denzel's gonna take over, and and he wants to get the rest of the message. He wants to do this kind of confirmation, but there's a problem, you guys. There's a rogue sub that potentially is taken over by these rebels floating around there. They have like a term for it. I'm trying to remember what the term they use for it. It's like is it like a Craven or something like that? Whatever they call it, like not like Craven the Hunter, but like it's something like that, where there's like this hunter sub, that they're kind of dealing with. So they're trying to dance around it a little bit, trying to do quiet, but the problem is it's like this radio thing this buoy breaks, that they're trying to do the extension buoy to get the radio out, and it breaks and it makes some noise and like grinds up against something and makes a bunch of noise and alerts them, and we get a little submarine battle, which I kind of forgot there's an actual like submarine battle in this middle of this movie. I thought it was mostly like the mutiny thing, but Steven, like, I thought it was pretty good. What do you think about this like little back and forth battle with the torpedoes? They're launching the countermeasures, and Denzel's in the thick of battle here, and he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's a great scene. It's exciting, and visually it looks great. And it leads to Denzel's character having to make a decision that unfortunately means them losing. I don't remember if it was just like one or two people. I forget. It's been a while since
it's like three guys. It's like three guys on that thing. Yeah, like because they don't get hit directly by one of the torpedoes. They deflect a couple of them, and then one explodes kind of near the rudder, but it breaks a hole, in one of the holes, and it's like flooding this compartment, and they have to close it up so they don't completely sink, down to pressure depth, where it's going to cave in the sub, but in order to do that, they've got to lock off this hatch, and Steve Zahn is one of our boys in there, they're trying to like lock down the leak, and like they're trying to fix the last minute. He's like, come on, get out of there, and Denzel has to get on the radio and tell him to close it up and lock it up, for the sake of the rest of the ship. But it's a really tense scene. Richie, what do you think about the whole sequence?
The whole sequence was really good, and it's a really intense scene because it's like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure, like, you sort of, I hate to be in this situation, but you probably do get in those situations where it's like, it sucks, but it's like, you either have to kind of go along with, having to, a couple people are going to die, or everybody. So it's just like one of those things where, it's pretty harrowing, but that was very, so it's a real tension filled scene, but I thought it was really well done and really well shot.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Denzel has to kind of, for his first real actual battle, because they say he's only ever done kind of, simulations and and training and whatnot. He's never actually been in an actual combat situation. He does pretty good.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
like Gene Hackman said, he only he reckon he only found that out by like looking at his file when Leah's locked in
Yeah.
a thing. He's like,
It's like the guy in Aliens. It's like, Gorman, where it's like, how many combat drops, how many drops have you done? Oh, 37 simulated. And he's like, how many combat drops? 2, including this one. It's like,
I mean, at least he proves Gene Hackman's character wrong. He tells him he's not ready to make tough decisions yet, and
he
there he
makes a tough
goes. Yeah,
decision.
he has to
Yeah.
make that tough decision.
No, it's a real tough decision. Yeah, and it's one his decision to kind of go for the radio more than the missile. Yeah, it's tough to that's a tough decision in itself because that's what kind of alerts their presence. But yeah, they're able to take down. He's able to kind of avoid the torpedoes and get one off, and they blow up the other sub. So it's a pretty good victory. But yeah, they have to get the propeller back working because they're like sinking. And yeah, if they get to like 1,800 feet, the hull's going to cave in because of the pressure. So, it's a nice scene where it's like there's almost like a countdown. There's several countdowns in this movie because there's a greater countdown, like I said, of Viggo Mortensen, giving this like hour-long countdown until the guy has basically launch capability, for his missiles. So there's that. There's the time until they're ready to, the system is ready to go if they need to launch. You get this other like mini, countdown of them slowly descending, with the little counter on the screen of how many feet they can go. So yeah, there's some good little tension bits. You always have to have a greater countdown. That always works well for a movie when there's a greater looming thing that you've got to beat, time wise. Whereas Armageddon, with the how close they're getting to zero barrier, or Independence Day with like the countdown clock they do in that, with Jeff Goldblum on his laptop. Always good to have a countdown in your movie. It always helps.
But there's also a lesson in celebrating too early because right when they defeated submarine, they're like, yeah, and then like immediately imperiling. Oh shit! It's like,
oh shit, yeah, we're sinking. Oh god damn it, that's not good. Yeah, we need to get on and fix this thing. Yeah, the propeller's messed up. The radio, there's a subplot with the radio guy trying to fix the actual radio so they can get the rest of the message because the line's been cut. So he's trying to get the backup system going. And yeah, they have a good back and forth with him and Denzel where he calls him Scotty and he's Captain Kirk and he's like, remember, when he tells Scotty, I need the warp engines online. We need, I need more power. That's what I need from me, buddy. That's
yeah, because it was established earlier in the film that he's like a nerd. And then because he got into a fight with his friend because of who the best Silver Surfer was or something.
It's the Jack Kirby Silver Surfer or some other version of the Silver Surfer. Denzel's like, we all know that Jack Kirby Silver Surfer is the best Silver Surfer. We all know that. Just shows his knowledge. Yeah, it's good stuff. But yeah, so I mean, again, here's the thing: is that he's doing all this stuff, and meanwhile on the side, Gandolfini and a couple of the officers are kind of conspiring. They want to get the captain back in charge, so they don't like some of Denzel's decision making, and it's going to be like a double mutiny because now we're going to mutiny on the mutiny, and we're going to take back the power. And my God, do they have a hell of an arsenal when they open up that locker? Jesus Christ, there's like 30 guns in that thing. How many guns do you need in a submarine? I don't know. It's really something, but yeah, we get this little plot of there's half of the ship is kind of with Hackman, kind of half is with Denzel, and there's a power struggle, which Steven, it's kind of the crux of the movie, right? It's this power struggle movie of who's right, who's wrong, and who's going to emerge on top.
Yeah, and like I said before, I mean, you have some of the people on Hackman's side, some of the people on Washington's side, and then you have Viggo Mortensen, who's kind of caught in the middle.
Stuck in the middle, yeah.
Because he's loyal to his captain, but he's also loyal to his friend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and the chief guy's kind of the same way, but he's kind of in the other way where he's like, loyal to Denzel because he's a captain and he followed the regulations. But early in the movie when Denzel tries to thank him and he's like, "No, man, fuck you. You just that's my friend. Like that's my buddy. Yeah, that's my friend. And you just locked up my friend, for and took over his position. Like I'm not gonna say, allow you to say thank you to me. Like I was just doing my job. I was doing what I'm ordered to do essentially. But yeah, Richie, any thoughts on all that? This kind of double mutiny plot or whatever, the kind of back and forth that this double overtaking the ship.
It felt like it's very it got like very sort of I like the very little sort of political stuff where it's like like it became Team Ramsey versus Team what was it?
Team Hunter,
and it's just like and then like as we'll get to like last week, neither is like wrong or right. So it's like I mean like well I mean I guess like Denzel's right, but like it's like
well we can talk about that when we get to the end of the movie. Who do you think was in the right or the wrong? Yeah, per se. We'll get there.
I guess. But like, but it is like I guess you can kind of see. I guess my point is you can kind of see some people's motivations, but like I know, like I am of belief that maybe Denzel's right in this moment, but it is. But it is. It adds intrigue when you're like people like creating division with people conspiring against each other. I like a good old kind of backstab in movies, or kind of a good old espionage sort of thing, or like spot, kind of, what I'm saying, like good old, group team up kind of deal.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we get kind of a classic Tony Scott thing, especially in the 90s. We get like a Mexican standoff, which a lot of his movies kind of, have a Mexican standoff near the end, much like Sergio Leone movies. True Romance has kind of a Mexican standoff in that Hollywood producers office, with the DEA guys and the gangsters kind of all, standing off against each other. Enemy of the State has one at the end in that Italian restaurant, near the end of that movie. He's kind of well known for these sort of, Mexican stand. Again, I forgot how many guns were in this movie. Like everybody's just got, pistols and a couple of shotguns, all over the place. There's a little bit of action. It's not like a lot of, there's not really any shooting because if you started shooting up the sub, that's probably not a good idea. To start putting a bunch of holes in an underground.
I mean, it was fortunate, but what were they like planning to encounter? Like I don't know, like with that many guns on the ship, what are you planning to?
I guess it's just if you get boarded or something. I guess if you get taken over, I would imagine maybe it's just an old thing of like. If some other ship or sub, commandeered yours, it's so you can at least kind of defend yourself and the crew, at least against an invading force, I would imagine. That's the only thing I can think of. So, because I don't imagine you're just, pulling up to some place and then jumping out of the ship, guns blazing for some reason. I think it's just more of like a defense thing, if you get caught and boarded, I guess, to make a last stand. But yeah, there's kind of a standoff. Hackman takes back over, and we get to these fight over these missile keys because there's one on the. There's always two. There's one on the bridge there, and then we get more of Viggo Mortensen who has the other key like in a separate safe, and only he knows the combination. So we get this little standoff where Hackman goes down there, and it's kind of him back and forth, and he's like threatening to shoot him, and then he realizes, I probably shouldn't shoot this guy. He's the only guy who knows the combination. I kind of need him. And he has that realization. So he like legit threatens to shoot like another like petty officer, and I'm like, whoa, dude, like now you're like really in the wrong. Like this is not good.
But at least he like didn't. There's so many stupid movies where the bad guy or whoever's like, or even the good guys like threatening him. So what do I need to know? And they don't, and then they get shot. So what did that accomplish? Now they're not going to tell you they're dead.
So one of the best twists on that I ever saw was, if you remember in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, when Donovan, when Indy goes, shooting me won't get you anywhere because he needs him to go get the Grail, and he goes, something, Dr. Jones, you're absolutely right, and then he shoots Sean Connery instead. I'm like, that's one of the most gangster moves ever in a movie. Where it's like, no, you're right, I can't shoot you, I'll just shoot somebody else.
I feel like I've seen that something similar to that in another movie or two, though.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure that's like not the only thing. It's just that to me, that's the example that always comes out like first, the one I think of, where it's just like, yeah, you can't just shoot the guy you need, to do some task. It's like that would, that seems kind of redundant, or if you have to do it yourself. But yeah, it's a pretty tense scene, like between him and Vigo. I know, again, I saw an interview where Vigo said it was very like intimidating because it's pretty early in his career. I mean, he's only coming off of like, a couple of minor roles. I talked to Steven beforehand, Richie, that he's in like the third Texas Chainsaw Massacre in like 1990. In a couple of movies. He's just coming up.
Right after this movie is when he had that supporting role in the Stallone movie Daylight.
Oh right, yeah. I mean, he's just kind of literally like just a character actor. I mean, he doesn't really break out as like a lead guy until I think Lord of the Rings, really, right? I mean, a couple years later.
It's hard to like recognize him pre Lord of the Rings because I'm used to him having a beard and the hair. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, I forgot pre Lord of the Rings he did stuff. But
he's in the I mean, actually, he worked with Ridley Scott. 2 years later, he's the head drill sergeant in G.I. Jane. He's really good in that movie. Yeah, I mean, I just saw G.I. Jane about 2 years ago. Yeah, he's really good in that. He's in the Psycho remake, if you remember. He plays the Sam Loomis part, the cowboy kind of guy, in the back half of the movie. But I mean, he starts to break out around this time. So, he's doing a good job. I mean, Steven, I thought he did a pretty good job against Hackman. He holds his own.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he's great in this movie. I mean, like I said, everyone always talks about Denzel and Gene Hackman, which, of course, is, they're fantastic, of course. But, yeah, this is an underrated performance as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think other guys like Gandolfini, always holds his own. He's always great. He's always scary, man. These 90s movies he did, he's always scary because, remember in True Romance, he's like the henchman guy that beats the shit out of Patricia Arquette in that movie, who has like that fight scene in the hotel room. He's
a couple years later, he'd have that really creepy role in 8mm.
Oh right, yeah, no, that's what I mean. He always played like a creepy, like intimidating guy, and I'm sure that's why they cast him for The Sopranos. Yeah, no, I mean it makes sense. But I mean, yeah, even this early, he's a super kind of scary dude, when he really wants to be. So
Fallen, I remember he was in Fallen.
Fallen, yeah. I mean,
I do remember him in that one too.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's good here too. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Reggie. Jeez.
No, I was just going to say Fallen's got Denzel Washington in it as well. So there's another. That's what I'm talking about. Fallen with John Goodman as well.
John Goodman, Denzel, Gandolfini, Elias Koteas is in the beginning of that movie is like the killer, the serial killer that's getting executed. Yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, so I mean, we get kind of the standoff. They hold up on the bridge and decide to kind of at least wait. At least a few more minutes to see if this message comes through, if the radio guy can get the radio back up. He gets the radio back up again, just in the nick of time.
Sort of. Gene Hackman kind of kicks in a little.
I think he's starting to get cold feet because, Denzel's made some points about like, I have a family too, and if we launch this, like, we start a nuclear holocaust, like it's World War III. Maybe he's like giving second thoughts about like, can we really just make sure we're doing the right thing, before we just start a nuclear war? Because once you go and launch it, it's over. I mean, it's World War III.
When we talk about the ending, I think he almost seems like he makes a joke out of it, but I think he almost kind of gives in, saying, "Yeah, I guess you were right after all."
Yeah, they have this discussion about horses, like these, horses from Spain, and Denzel knows horses, from earlier in the movie. They have kind of just this discussion while they're waiting for the radio to come through. But he gets the radio working, and they get the rest of the message, and the rest of the message says that the guy, was overwhelmed by, I guess, the actual Russian military, and he was, they were able to kind of put the rebellion down and take him into custody.
It's worth noting he did have a change of heart right after like wailing on him for not giving him the key. He fucking punched him.
Oh yeah, he punches him like a couple of times, and Denzel just takes it
and makes him bleed.
But we did establish that Denzel can probably take a punch because he's boxing earlier in the movie, so he's probably got a strong chin. You can't be a boxer without a strong chin. So, I mean, you almost though with the boxing thing expect him to throw a punch back, to like, But I think that, I think that what we saw of Denzel, like, Hackman would be no match for Denzel. Denzel would have wailed on him, you know what I mean, and just killed him. But yeah, he stands there and takes it. He's the bigger man, he takes the punches and just lets him get his anger out. So, but yeah, we find out that the missile launch was not needed. They put this guy down. He surrendered, and yeah, we get back and Hackman calls off the missile launch, and everybody's happy. But yeah, I kind of forgotten how it actually ended. As far as we get this, that's where Jason Robards shows up. We get this kind of court-martial scene with both guys, and they're considering everything. They don't even let Denzel give his testimony, which I thought was interesting. They he's like, "Do you want to hear, my side of the story?" And they're like, "No, we got everything we need." But yeah, Robards, kind of declares, and we'll talk about it, that both of these guys kind of, I guess, have, sides to their story or whatever. Both were kind of in the right and both a little bit in the wrong, and they basically just, tell Hackman, well, we'll let you have to retire, but we'll let you be discharged, honorably, but you kind of have to retire here and now. And Denzel is going to get his own command, on a different vessel. But yeah, Stephen, we talked about it. Who's in the right? Who's in the wrong? I don't know. What do you think? Is this fair? Should Hackman go to jail? I mean, he almost started World War III.
I think it was okay letting him retire. But I would definitely side with Denzel Washington. I mean, because they could have started World War III.
Yeah, Richie.
I just think that maybe they, I don't know, like maybe they just have some loyalty to him. That's why they didn't put him in jail. But I think they were just being diplomatic. I think they're deep down. I think they know that it wasn't like, oh yeah, you're both in the wrong, both in the wrong. I'm sure like the obviously the division between the two obviously hurt every things obviously but like I think deep down they probably knew that like Denzel's in the right. They're like that's probably was like, hey, this is they're like telling
the fact that Hackman has to retire and he's getting his own ship seems to tip that they think Denzel's in the right.
Telling Gene nicely, hey, maybe you're just getting a bit too long in the tooth for this shit. Go.
Maybe you're a little past your prime, and we like you, but yeah, you gotta retire.
And then like letting Denzel keep being captain, it makes you think that they don't actually think that like both sides are even here. They're just kind of trying to be. They're trying to be like Sweden or Switzerland here, and they're trying, so probably Hackman should be in jail, not only for like you're starting World War III, but like he what if he didn't have that price consciousness? He would have just point blank shot Viggo Mortensen's character in the back of the head. So I think he got off lucky being able to just kind of just live out the rest of his years just chilling but having a life of like sort of leisure or whatever. So I would say Denzel's on the right, and they knew that. But
I mean, I'm with Denzel in that, like, can we get like a double, triple confirmation that this is what we're supposed to do, before we launch a nuclear weapon? I'm with him in that, where it's like, there's a hesitation there because, not only does he have a family, but everybody else does. I mean, this is literally, it could be the end of civilization as we know it if we go into a, full-on nuclear war. I mean, the Earth would never be the same, essentially. So yeah, I'm definitely with him there. Hackman, I'm surprised there wasn't at least a little bit of punishment. Yeah, just because of the stuff he does with the gun, with Vigo and the other officer, kind of seems like that's a little bit of a crime. But I guess they like him enough.
Was that reported on though?
I would imagine they say Robards drops a line that they got testimony from like the rest of the crew already, something like that. So I'm sure they know all the facts of everything that happened, in the ship. Just they just without hearing from Hunter and Ramsey themselves. But I guess they got the testimony from all the other officers and some of the other, crewmen and things like that. So I'm sure they know everything that happened.
It's also possible that maybe they didn't, that maybe they didn't report that part.
Maybe. I guess if some guys were loyal to Ramsey enough to not, say some of the shadier things he did, maybe. I don't know.
Well, but you could also say, I mean, Denzel, I mean, it doesn't compare to like some of the stuff, Gene Hackman did, but you could also, hey, there's one guy that'd be like, Denzel and his guys, they beat me up and then tied me to a chair. Remember that dude?
Oh, right, that's right. Yeah. So I guess each side kind of had to do certain things, and I guess I would imagine he was following regulations and saving the greater crew, but I'm surprised that the deaths of the three other guys that drowned didn't really come up in that panel of that sequence. It's there, but it's never really like addressed again. And I know he was probably justified in what he did again to save the greater piece of the crew, or he would be forgiven for that for following his regulations on what he should have done, to save everybody else. But I thought there would not that there'd be like consequences for that. I just thought it would have come up, in the actual, panel. Somebody would have just mentioned that, and maybe he would have had to defend his actions or something like that. But again, they said, "Oh, we don't need to hear from you." And I was like, "Okay," because we just already made our decision. But yeah, I mean, they kind of exit there. Hackman drops the line where he's like, "You were right." Pause. About the horses. Drops the thing about the horses. So kind of saying, you were right, but in a joking kind of roundabout way. And Ramsey walks off with his little dog. And I guess he's just gonna go retire with the dog and live out the rest of his life. And Denzel goes on to command a different sub. So that's pretty much the end of the movie. Yeah. No, I mean, we'll go around and kind of get your overall thoughts on the movie and on everybody's performances and whatnot. But yeah, Steven, I know again it's one of your favorites, but I know you said you watched like half of it or something. You didn't get a chance to fully rewatch it, but
I only watched like a half hour of it today.
Gotcha. But I know it's still a favorite of yours. But your thoughts on the movie overall, huh? For sure.
I mean, I think it's Tony Scott's best movie. I mean, I haven't seen True Romance, and I know that a lot of people love that
True
movie.
Romance is my favorite Tony Scott movie. But just because it's like his direction mixed with Tarantino's dialogue, it's just really, really good. And that also has an amazing cast when you watch it. Like just everybody is somebody in that movie. Everybody. It's insane.
So I haven't seen True Romance, but apart from that, I think it's Tony Scott's best movie. And it's my favorite Hans Zimmer score, and it's my I haven't seen that many submarine movies, but of the ones that I've seen, it's my favorite. Is like, I guess, between this and The Hunt for Red October.
I like this more than Hunt for Red October. I'll go on record as saying this. Yeah. I think Hunt for Red October is good, but I like this way better. I think this movie's way more intense.
The Hunt for Red October, I think, is great, but it's not my favorite Jack Ryan movie.
Right.
But I mean...
Chris Pine movie? Is that your favorite?
Shadow Recruit. That's your favorite.
No, I mean, I actually like all of them, but no, it's always been for me Clear and Present Danger.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But yeah, no, I love this movie. It's it's a great action movie, even though it has some action, but not a lot. But it still feels like a great action movie.
Yeah, for sure. Richie, well, your first time, man. But yeah, how was the watch overall? And would you ever watch it again?
Yeah, no, I thought this was really good. Yeah, I would sort of describe it as an action movie, but the action is kind of the dialogue. It's the argument, the the dialogue provides the action and the tension, and so yeah, and I thought the performance was really good. Yeah, the score is great, fantastic. And yeah, like some of the scenes are really shot really well. Yeah, I definitely watch it again. I'm glad I got finally able to get around to it. So yeah, honestly, it's probably like a 4 out of 5 for me. I think it's really good.
Yeah, no, and yeah, this is one I go back to, every couple of years or so. I like Tony Scott overall. I mean, he makes really good thrillers and good action movies. He's always had a good eye. He's got a cool little kind of visual style. That very zippy kind of editing and pacing. He's always paced his movies very well. He gets you hooked, in with something and keeps you on the hook. I think for most of his movies, even the ones that are like, you don't think of as like great movies are still really entertaining. You look at stuff like the Pelham 1-2-3 remake or Unstoppable. Some of these movies that are still like very entertaining and very,
Yeah,
while you're
I
watching.
honestly, I don't think I've disliked any of Tony Scott's movies. I can't
I don't
remember
think so
any.
either. Yeah, I mean, because you got like this, like so True Romance. Yeah, I mean, I don't love the original Top Gun, but it's very watchable.
Oh
Like
yeah, that's
it's
probably like my
entertaining.
least favorite. That is, it's probably my least favorite movie of his.
My least favorite might be Domino. Domino's not great, but it's got an interesting visual style to it. But
Mickey Rourke, was it
Oh, The Fan is okay. It's not like a
Fan.
great movie. I was never that big into Days of Thunder,
Yeah.
but
But most of his
um,
stuff is good. I like The Last Boy Scout a lot with
I
Bruce
love The
Willis.
Last Boy Scout.
Yeah,
That's
that's a great
a
movie.
Shane Black script, and I love Shane Black as a
Oh yeah,
writer.
he's great. Beverly Hills Cop 2 is my favorite of the Beverly Hills Cop series. I think he does a good job with that. Like I said, I love True Romance. True Romance is on my 128. I think that movie's great. Steven, you got to get on that. Watch True Romance. It's really, really good. Great cast and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, Enemy of the State is a fire movie. Like that movie's excellent. Man on Fire has become kind of a cult favorite, over the years with Denzel. So yeah, I mean, he has an overall like really solid filmography. And yeah, I think this movie, is one of the highlights of, especially like it's just got that mid-90s vibe that I really like, like movies like this is just, you don't get a lot of movies like this where it's just these kind of mid-budget, just really good, kind of thrillers, again, relying heavily on dialogue and performances and just solid action thrillers that you can just go out going, man, like, damn, that was really entertaining and really good shit, and just a real showcase of both Denzel and Hackman. I know this episode is, we're focusing on Hackman. He's excellent in this movie. You buy him as this seasoned, captain, this thing that people respect and people have admiration for. You buy it immediately because that's the power that he has, in his roles. And he's great. So, and I really appreciate most of the stuff he did in the 90s here, and really, really good. So, but yeah.
Hackman did a year after this. Hackman did a movie that we've talked about recently on because when we did I don't remember what it was but I love his performance in Extreme Measures.
Oh, okay, it's come up on Tournament Fights once or twice. Yeah, I've never seen it.
I'll make you. I don't know if Oscar will sign up for this. I'll make you a deal, Stephen. I don't know. It might not never come up, but if True Romance, because I know it's almost 128, if True Romance gets spun, we'll have you on. We can have you on, but you got to watch it. You got to watch it throughout that. You get a couple of weeks. You got to. We should do this fortnightly, so you got a couple of weeks to watch it. You watch it.
It's got to be available to stream somewhere, but sure.
Yeah. We'll work it out. Yeah. I'm sure it is. It's a big movie.
Yeah. I mean, at least for rental and shit. I'm sure it's out there. I would imagine it's not available anywhere. I mean, True Romance, right? I mean, yeah, it's not free as of right now, but you can rent it on all the major platforms. So yeah, it's out there. But yeah, I mean, we try to find people that are either big fans of the movie or have been waiting for an excuse to watch it. So that's why we had Richie on for the entire Indiana Jones trilogy. It's like we finally gave him a reason to watch it. It's like we're gonna do all. We spun Raiders. We were like, okay, Richie, you haven't seen Raiders. Like this is your chance. You got to watch Raiders. Watch it for the Stamp Show. Talk about it, and then we were like, you know what? Well, I want to do the other ones. We'll get you to watch the other two.
I remember I've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark a million times, but I remember getting to see it on the big screen for the first time ever a few years ago. It was probably for its 40th anniversary or something.
Yeah, I've seen Raiders like 10 times in the theaters. They play it all the damn time. Like all the time. They never play Last Crusade or Temple of Doom in theaters very often. They play Raiders all the damn time. So I wish I'd play the other ones more. But it's good stuff. But yeah, I mean, we'll kind of wrap it up there. Again, we don't, Richie and I talked about this. We don't love doing tribute episodes only because it means somebody passed away. So we don't like doing tribute episodes, because we rather just talk about these movies, organically and these actors and whatnot. But it's always nice to, pay tribute to these actors or directors or whatever it might be, and showcase one of their movies or and talk
a lot of deaths recently.
I know it's unfortunate. Yeah,
it goes without saying. Also, R.I.P. Michelle Trachtenberg. We didn't want to get bombed. We sort of, no respect. We just didn't want to if we kept doing tribute episodes every week, it kind of got away with what the show is. So look,
Bob Wolfie also recently passed away.
Watch Harriet the Spy. It's a good movie.
Harriet the Spy is good and it holds up. It's a good kids movie that actually still works, and it has some mature themes in it, and it's very good. I've seen it a bunch of times. It works. So yeah, go watch that. Yeah, rest in peace, Michelle Trachtenberg. There was somebody else who passed away, another character actor.
Oh, I don't know about actors, but Bob Orsi. He's
the producer.
Yeah, Robert Orsi. Yeah, the writer, producer. Yeah. He passed away. It was what's his name? I'm looking up right now. David Johansen, the character actor. He's like the cab driver in Scrooged. He's a kind of a strange looking guy. What's that?
Is he related to Scarlett?
Jan Hackman. Not Joe Hand.
No, it's not spelled the same way. No, he's not. He's not related. But he's a very kind of strange looking guy. But you know him if you saw him. But yeah, he's in Scrooge. He's in Mr. Nanny. He's the Thanatos villain in Mr. Nanny.
Oh, yeah.
The guy with the plate on his head. He's one of those strange looking guys, but he's one of those character actors. So, we're not going to do an episode for him. Some people like that, we'll acknowledge, that they're passed away, but unless they're a very prominent character actor, I think, had Philip Baker Hall, passed away when we were doing Wheel of Movies, we'd probably do something for him because I love him. You could do a Magnolia, where he has a big role or something like that. I mean, we still, we did an episode for David Lynch, obviously, because that's a big director, a big death. So we did Mulholland Drive. If we do that, we do stop and acknowledge Tony Todd. We did Candyman.
We actually acknowledge Tony Todd at the Oscars.
Yeah, we acknowledge these people. At least acknowledge that they passed away, and we don't want to ignore them. But we'll get back to some regular business here in the next 2 weeks. We kind of did this as an emergency episode just to make sure it was relevant, to his death. So we'll get back to regular scheduled program in about 2 weeks, pending any other major deaths. God forbid. We'll kind of wrap it up there. We got some lonely marks to get to in a little bit. So we'll wrap it up there. But Steven, thanks for being our guest tonight. And anything you want to plug or throw out there, man?
No, I don't really have anything to plug right now.
No, that's fine. And again, we'll have you on again if it's a movie that we know is kind of up your alley, or maybe may have shown up on your 64. We always put the feelers out for some of these movies if it's somebody's favorite movie, and they're willing to come on. Some of them we just do me and Richie, but we try to have a guest at least maybe every other episode or so. So, but thanks for coming on and talking about Crimson Tide, man. Appreciate it. Richie, what you got going on?
Well, like I said, Lonely Marks here in a bit, and recapping Elimination Chamber, really good show. Spoiler. Looking forward to a Revolution coming up here, and other than that, hopefully you catch me on Corner Fights tomorrow. Get Power. hopefully, hopefully power stays on. And all that jazz like ASAP, and in their tournament still, and all around the place really. So yeah.
And we'll see Crimson Tide on a couple of tournaments upcoming because it's in, I think, part 3 or 4 of the action tournament we're doing right now. So it's in one of those. And it'll obviously, like I said, when we get to 95, which is our next ladder series, it'll be in the 95 tournament.
I
So
might be on that. I can't remember.
yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, maybe it could be a heavy hitter for Gene Hackman. We'll see, how it does. But Gene's got 3 chances to get one in for 95. So he'll have 3 shots with 3 good movies. So I mean, that'll kind of do it for tonight. You can mostly find me obviously here on the Movie Hero Network, hosting Wheel of Movies, hosting Recast, co-hosting tournament fights, tier ranker fights, everything in between. We'll be over. If you look for the Movie Hero Network Facebook group, I'll be plugging Lonely Marks in there. We have our own channel for that, but you can tune in and see myself, Richie, JPO, and Jacob Barber talk some wrestling over there. So come find us over there, and that'll pretty much do it for tonight. So we'll wrap it up there for this discussion of Crimson Tide, and we'll leave it till 2 weeks from now, and we'll see what we spend on Wheel of Movies. So for Steven Shepard, for Richie Goodacre, I am Austin Pezhal, your host for the evening. We'll see you guys next time.